Welcome to the Hidden Orchard podcast, a radical exploration of spirituality, science, and the Bible from a Jewish perspective. Each week we'll look at a new topic and dive deep into the texts that inspire and enrich our lives. So whether you're a seasoned expert or just curious about a topic, there's something for everyone. So sit back, relax, and we'll get to today's episode in a bit. But first, if you haven't done so, visit thehiddenorchard.com and subscribe. It's free, and you'll receive access to content and weekly emails. There you can also subscribe for a paid membership and get access to everything on the site and be the first to hear about online study opportunities where you can meet and interact with other people on the journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you have an idea for a topic, reach out to me at thehiddenorchard.com. Now let's get to today's episode. As holiday lights adorn homes, the Christmas season unfolds with its familiar themes of angelic proclamations, divine births, miraculous events, and the promise of salvation. Yet hidden beneath the surface of the festivities lies a provocative revelation. The very essence and imagery of these stories are sourced from within the Jewish Midrashic tradition. This becomes apparent when we compare the narrative accounts in Luke and Matthew with the Jewish tradition. We'll find these stories conform to a type of pattern. Perhaps startling for some, these accounts are thus not entirely new. We'll find the names change, but the key roles and key events appear in each version. The villains, played by either Nimrod, Pharaoh, or Herod, all seek to destroy a child redeemer in their time. These roles, played by Abraham, Moses, and Jesus, respectively. The astrologers, played by themselves, serve as the messengers of these good tidings. What becomes more clear is that these commonalities unite them under a larger meta-narrative. Incidentally, this might help to account for the differences in the Gospels surrounding Jesus' birth. Let's look at a few of these similarities. The Midrashic and Gospel accounts share the presence of astrologers, or magi. In the New Testament, the word in Greek is magos, and can be connected to magicians. While many believe these were pagan, some scholars indicate they may not have been. It's possible they might have been religious, even Jewish mystics from the East, in Babylon, who excelled in astrological knowledge from the school of Daniel. An idea we've covered before, since the Hebrew word for the East is the same as ancient, Mekedem, the phrase from the East could be a hint that these astrologers are connected to the higher level wisdom or even ancient knowledge. Nevertheless, they have secured a role and tradition all their own outside the Gospel account. In the literary structure, the astrologers serve as timely messengers, interpreting the prophetic signs in the stars. They appear in the birth narratives of Abraham, Moses, and Jesus, of course. In the Gospel of Matthew, the birth narrative of Jesus draws many parallels with the story of Abraham, the father of the Jewish nation, and also with Moses, the redeemer of the nation. In the Midrash, Abraham's birth story involves some familiar events. Reading from the Midrash, we find, "And the night Avram was born, the servants of Terach, Avram's father, and all the wise men and the astrologers of Nimrod came. They ate and drank in the house of Terach, and they greatly rejoiced all night. And when the wise men and the astrologers left Terach's house, they lifted their eyes to observe the stars. And behold, a very large star came from the rising of the sun, and ran about in the heavens and swallowed up 4 stars from the 4 winds of heaven." There's a lot going on in this Midrash, but we see the stars, we see astrologers, and we see the villain, Nimrod, who wants to stop the prophecy from reaching fulfillment. In a similar fashion to the Gospel of Matthew, the astrologers deliver their prediction that the child will be the leader of a great nation, and he will challenge Nimrod's reign. Then quietly, the astrologers escape before Nimrod extracts more information from them. In his anger at their flight, Nimrod plans the death of the infant. In reaction, Terach flees, taking the mother and the infant Avram into hiding until danger passes. As in the case of the Gospels, the story highlights the battle between the forces of good and evil, and how divine providence works behind the scenes to thwart the ways of these powerful earthly rulers. In the case of Moses, the parallels continue. As the Torah recounts, Moses, as an infant, faced the threat of death from Pharaoh, which led his mother Yocheved to place him in a basket on the Nile River. Similarly, the Gospel of Matthew recounts how the infant Jesus faced the threat of King Herod. In the Gospels, Jesus' parents flee to Egypt to protect him, mirroring the escape of the baby Moses from the clutches of Pharaoh. Other elements exist as well. For example, the mention of gold and silver and pitch or straw exists in the birth narratives of Abraham and Moses as well as Jesus. Though some of these are not explicit in the Gospels, they have also made their way into the nativity scene via tradition. Light is also a key feature of these birth narratives, sometimes through a unique star or through divine light. As something of great importance in rabbinic tradition, we see this element at the birth of Moses and Abraham, both of whom brought a great revelation of the Creator to the world. In Moses' story, we see the astrologers again, bearing a similar message. Rabbinic commentator Rashi writes, "On the day when Moses was born, his astrologers said to Pharaoh, 'Today their deliverer has been born, but we know not whether he is born of an Egyptian father or of an Israelite. But we see by our astrological chart that he will ultimately suffer misfortune through water.'" Early on, Moses is seen as a future redeemer for Israel. In the Midrash, Miriam, his sister, makes the following prophecy of her baby brother. In the future, mother will give birth to a child that will be the savior of the Jewish people. We can actually see echoes of this statement in the Gospel of Luke, as a different Mary, whose name is also Miriam in Hebrew, makes a similar proclamation. Many more themes exist, too many for the span of this episode, but the parallels are astounding and worth exploring. Perhaps most interesting to me is the scandal that surrounds the births of the Redeemers. It's a common occurrence that special souls seem to come into the world through questionable circumstances. As such, the Hebrew Bible records many scandalous events that lead up to the line of David. For one example, the incident with Lot's daughter produces the line of Moab, who ultimately becomes part of David's bloodline through Ruth. The Midrash pushes these further. Paraphrasing the tradition of Moses' birth, the dangers imposed through Pharaoh's order to execute the baby boys cause many to reconsider the logic of having children at such a time. Moses' father, Amram, declared that Jewish families should observe abstinence just to be safe. Through this, Amram divorced his wife, Yocheved, and separated from her. Amram's daughter, Miriam, objected, saying, "Father, your ruling is harsher than Pharaoh's," indicating that Amram's good intentions also prevented Jewish girls from being born as well. In agreement, Amram returned to his wife. Immediately, he noticed the signs that she was now with child, causing alarm. The scandal was quickly resolved as they realized the timing and that she had become pregnant before their separation, not during. We see a similar scandal in the birth narrative of David, where his mother is found to be unexpectedly pregnant, with all signs pointing to adultery. However, in this case as well, we learn from tradition that everything was above reproach, despite appearances. In summary, the similarities between the gospel birth narratives and the Midrash extend beyond specific events to encompass a vast array of symbolic patterns and themes. It reframes the gospel writings back into the genre of rabbinic literature, imposing a new paradigm from which we should view them. While each narrative maintains its unique characteristics, the shared themes of divine promise, miraculous births, and messianic expectations underscore the tapestry of faith and divine providence that unites them. As is so often the case with Midrash, a reader may ask, well, did these events literally happen? A better question might be, what do these figures have in common? What's the bigger picture the author is painting for us? That's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed this topic. Remember, you can find more information at thehiddenorchard.com. If you liked what you heard, please leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. We don't really engage in marketing, so it's word of mouth and references like that really help spread the word. Also, I want to say thank you to those who subscribe to the site and those who support the Hidden Orchard Project financially. Without you, it wouldn't be possible, so thank you. Thanks to everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.